Go.
ICM/physics project by Emily, Pranathi, and vineeth. So our goals are to take data from 3 varsity sports teams at PCHS, identify measures of central tendency, normal distribution graphs, correlation, confounding variables, hypothesis, and relationship of these to the data, create an experiment to prove our hypothesis. Our experiment to prove our hypothesis is one group will have a long practice with moderate intensity, while another group will have short practice time with high intensity. The last group will have a short practice with low intensity. Our hypothesis is the longer the practice with moderate intensity will yield to higher performance, while practice with a short or long time with too high or too low intensity will lead to poor performance in games. Our confounding variables are individual physical ability, men versus women team, different amount of games played, and amount of injuries a team faced.
Okay, so the data that we used for our project was the men's football team, which had a record of 11 wins and 3 losses and no ties, and they practice an average of 12 hours a week. We also used the women's soccer team, which had a record of 24 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie, and they practice an average of 10 hours a week. And then we used men's wrestling, which had a record of 15 wins, 6 losses, and 0 ties for an average of about 15 hours of practice a week. Measures of central tendency. We use mean, median, mode, and range. The mean is also known as the average, and you add up all the numbers and divide by how many there are to find it. The median is the middle number in a data set. The mode is the most frequently occurring number, and the range is when you subtract the lowest number from the highest number. The first measure of central tendency we used was the mean. We used average practice time per day, which averaged out to about 2.18 hours per week, which was 12.33 hours per week, and then average wins, which was 16.67, and average losses, which was 3.33, and then average ties, which was 0.33. And all of this data was combined between all of the sports teams in order to get a best general result. Then we created normal distribution graphs for what we felt were the 3 best ways to conduct our experiment. We did the average practice time per week, which you can see that there's the mean of 12.33 right here, and it separated the data between 68, 96, and 99%. Over here we found the standard deviation, which is when you take each number from the set of data, the 10 hours a week, 12 hours, and 15 hours, and the mean is subtracted from each of them. Then you get the number and you square it in order to get this number, which you add them all up and divide by how many there are to get a number, and you square that to find the standard deviation, which is how much there is between. And we did these for average number of wins and average number of losses.
Median. The median of practice time per day was 2 hours, and per week it was 12 hours. The median number of wins was 15, the median number of losses was 3, and the median number of ties was 0. The mode of the practice time per day was 2, and per week there was no mode. And for number of wins and losses there was no mode, but for the number of ties the mode was 0. The range of the practice time is nothing but the maximum minus the minimum. So the range of the practice time per day was 3 hours, and per week it was 5. The range of the number of wins was 13, and the range of the number of losses was 5, and the range of the number of ties was 1.
Thank you for listening to our lesson.